Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. This is take 4. Sometimes it's like that, especially with Mercury retrogrades. Um, yeah, between this and ATMs this morning, I've been having some fun with technology issues, or something going on. Anyway, and then on top of it, I did work last night. Um, but yeah, I cut out early because of the doctor's appointment this morning. But for whatever reason, I just could not sleep. I don't know why. I just kept tossing and turning. I kept getting hot, really, really hot. And even with having a fan going and everything, and I mean the AC's down to 71 and so forth, and I just could not cool off or anything. And I just kept tossing and turning, so I'm a little bit sleepy too. So that's not helping matters. So I apologize ahead of time in case I start going all funky and everything. But anyway, yeah, had the doctor's appointment this morning. Very good appointment. He definitely helped to explain some things that the previous pulmonologist was thinking and so forth, the direction that he was going. Um, and so yeah, I got a referral to another pulmonologist office. Excuse me, and uh, we'll go from there and see. I did call them, but they have, since how it had just come in and so forth, they haven't had a chance to process any of the referrals that they've gotten in. But she did take down my info, and so hopefully can see about getting that taken care of as quickly as possible. So just gotta wait for the call. But anyway, I know I'm kind of spacey. But he did explain to me what might possibly be going on. Because I was asking him about the blood work, and I wasn't too sure, and I never got around to looking up what the one screening that they wanted to see about doing. And basically, what it is what they're thinking is that parasites, or what have you, may have made themselves at home, basically, in my chest. Okay, that's, I know I'm a little spacey. That's kind of what they're thinking. Okay, and it happens. You get an excess of them or what have you, and they just decide to take up residency, basically. So, and that's the reason why, like the inhaler, why even with trying to use the inhaler, yeah, you might get a little relief or what have you, but for the most part, they don't work. And it's one of the reasons why when I did do the inhaler, I wound up having an issue. So, but there is a treatment. I don't know if it's a short-term thing, like, because basically what they have to do is they have to identify the potential ones, and it's basically injections that you have to go in for to help kill those parasites. Like I said, I don't know if it's a short-term thing or if it's something I might have to do for the rest of my life. What the heck? I'm already doing injections with being a diabetic. It's very possible, especially with being autoimmune disorder. Type 1s are autoimmune. So he said that I do remember him talking about that, that it's a potential, basically, side effect or what have you, especially since I had just had that respiratory virus, and then I turned right around and became a type 1 diabetic right within each other. So yeah, there we are. So we'll see what happens with that and everything. That definitely, he recommended to go ahead and get the blood work done. I did not get blood work done, or have, it all transferred over to him, primarily because I, at least with the blood work I have to get done with, I want to get everything done at the same time. I don't want to have to go and then go back and then go back again, because he even ordered some blood work. It's mostly, for annual physical sort of stuff. But I'll just, I'd much rather just go in and here, have it all, have at it, so on and so forth. So, but unfortunately, with the blood work, I have to get done with the endocrinologist, basically my diabetic doctor. With that, excuse me, I have to be able to fast for 12 hours, and I ate at midnight, and I wasn't going to sit around there until noon to get blood work done. It's like, no, ain't happening. I'll figure it out. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now. In the meantime, I also wanted to share with you guys another thing that you all could see about doing if you are dealing with chronic pain and so forth, muscle joint inflammation and everything. One thing that you can try is arnica gel. That is really, really good for arthritis, sort of pain or what have you, joint inflammation. I used that on my spine, my C6 and C7 when I had the car accident 7 years ago. I wound up using that after getting released from the doctors, basically telling me, sorry, there's not much more we can do for you unless you're willing to get steroid injections, basically taking actually 2 nice long needles and having them injected into my spine. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Otherwise, the next, and unfortunately, that's not always doable. It doesn't always take. And then the next step is surgery, where they're chipping away at the bone, and that doesn't always work. And yeah, so that's kind of the road that I was going to be going down with that. I'm like, ain't happening. No. So that's when I kind of started looking at homeopathic remedies, and that's when I discovered the arnica gel. And also another one that you can do is magnesium oil. That's a really good one. There's a sports spray I found at Vitamin Shop 7 years ago. I still have the same bottle. That's how long it lasts. It's combination of magnesium oil, basically magnesium stearate in oil form, basically Epsom salt. Okay, it's in oil form. You may have a little bit of a salty residue. Okay, so just be warned about that. You might even get a little salty taste in your mouth. All right. It's a combination of that, peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil, and arnica oil. Okay, all very good anti-inflammatories when it comes to muscle and joint pain. I had tried using those on my chest before, but unfortunately, it was a combination of a couple things that were irritating. For one thing, the aromas. Really, except for the peppermint oil. Peppermint oil has does really help a lot. Peppermint is actually really good for helping with breathing issues. Rosemary also, but unfortunately, arnica just was kind of irritating. Also, we're trying to do the magnesium oil. I was having a tendency of breaking out a little bit, because the skin right here is very thin and sensitive. So yeah, it wasn't a very good combination for me. So I stopped using it. But it worked really, really well with my C6 and C7. I got instant relief. I put the arnica gel on first, let that, massage that in, then let that sit for about 15 minutes, and then I put on the sports spray, and then massage that in and let it sit for 15 minutes. And wow, yeah, that worked really well. But, again, of course, temporary relief until I started, getting more active and so forth. And then that's when things started to get inflamed. between the driving, and then I was also doing freelance work with graphic design, sitting at a computer all day, and being in that position really irritated, and of course my head felt like it was really really heavy on my body and everything, and it really between that and then going out driving and turning my head all the time, and so forth, it really was inflaming these muscles up in here, the ones at the base of the skull on both sides. So then I was dealing with that issue, and that inflammation. It was causing a lot of heat to radiate into my head, causing a lot of headaches and so forth. And it was just like, I can't deal with this. So anyway, a few years ago, actually I think it was during the pandemic, during the shutdowns and everything, I saw an advertisement for this book right here. Okay. The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. It's by Nicole, I can't read it, Nicole Appelian and Claude Davis. All right. And I'd always been interested in herbal medicine. I was always curious about it and everything. And I'm just like, well, I saw that book. I'm like, what the heck? I don't remember how much it was, but I was like, why not? I ain't got nothing better to do with everything shut down now anyway. So I went ahead and bought it, and I was reading it, and I got to a section where they were talking about lavender and the different parts of lavender that you can use for different ailments and so forth. And when they were talking about the oils, I found it very interesting, because they said that lavender essential oil is really good for muscle inflammation relief. I'm like, So I had already bought this other book. I have props today. So anyway, this is called The Green Witch. Your complete guide to the natural magic of herbs, flowers, essential oils, and more. It's by Erin Murphy Hiscock. Okay, just to let you all know, I am not a witch. Okay, I know a lot of you know that I am a spiritualist, follow astrology, so on and so forth. I am not a witch. I am a light worker. Okay, and but I follow the Green Witch path. Basically, nobody is a Green Witch. This is the way it was explained to me. Okay, this is what I've read. All right, nobody is a Green Witch. Basically, people follow the Green Witch path. It can be any sort of spirituality. You can even be an atheist or what have you. But basically what you're doing is you're tapping into the energies of nature to help with your spiritual work, basically your spirituality and your healing work and so on and so forth. Okay, that's why it's called the Green Witch. Okay, all right. But she had a recipe in here that I had done up for patience, that helps with patience. And you just apply it to your skin and everything. It's basically an essential oil blend. But she just says, okay, it's one part this, one part this, one part this. Okay, well, how much? So I had to devise my own recipe, which I'm going to give to you here in a sec, okay? But first, before I do that, I want to tell you all a couple of things about working with essential oils, all right? Because unfortunately, I have found that a lot of people are not very well educated about the industry, all right? Unfortunately, a lot of people just go to the store and buy old thing off the shelf. Don't get me wrong, in many areas of my life, I am frugal, all right? But when it comes to essential oils, no. And the reason why is because at least here in the States, I'm not too sure about other countries, but here in the States, the essential oil industry is not very well regulated. All right. So going and buying anything off the shelf, any sort of brand or whatever, and trying to save money and everything can wind up being a big no-no. And the reason why, was especially since they're not very well regulated, yeah, you might be going to the store and you're buying a bottle of lavender essential oil, but depending on the brand that you are purchasing, it can wind up having a little smidgen of essential oil, and the rest of it is a whole bunch of impurities, basically fillers, and they're passing it off as an essential oil, okay, which is not a good thing. Good example. I think it was about 3 years ago. Very well name brand, been in business for many decades, had their own magazine, everything, sold in a very well-known store chain, all right? Not going to mention any names. You can do the research yourself. And they got into the essential oil industry. And unfortunately, people were getting sick and they had to do massive recalls. And of course, this is during the pandemic, of course, or we were still in the wake of it anyway. And it was just like, wow, okay. And actually 4 years ago, kind of think of it. Anyway, you can look it up yourself. And the reason why people were getting sick is because they found that their essential oils, okay, had a whole bunch of impurities in them, and that's what was making people sick. Okay, so don't necessarily go with a well-known name brand and expect it to be okay. You have to do your research. I would highly recommend that you stick with organic as much as you possibly can, primarily because at least there's going to be some sort of regulatory process involved. And in order for a company to be able to slap that organic label on there, it has to go through some sort of regulatory process in order to be able to have that label on there. And that's pretty much, according to my research that I have done, that's pretty much any country in the world, okay? Some, of course, are going to have tighter regulations than others, but try and stick with that organic label as much as possible, okay? Like I said, so that way you know that it's got some sort of regulations. It's been through some sort of regulatory process. And you also know that it's being sourced ethically and everything. With your research, you definitely want to research where it's being sourced, the process of their process of sourcing it, actually, the actual harvesting, and also the process of the actual pressing. Because basically what they're doing is they're taking a whole bunch of that plant and they're pressing all the oil out of it, okay? And making the essential oil. All right. Also, there, aside from that, the other thing is that unless it has on the label that you see, oh, that's the other thing that I was going to also tell you. The brand that I use is this one here. It's called Auracacia. It's Auracacia. Okay. Yeah, this one in particular is not organic. I have a bottle here of lavender. As you can see, it's organic. Okay. The reason why, unfortunately, this company doesn't do an organic rose. So anyway, getting back to what I was going to mention to you next, unless it says ready to use, you're going to have to dilute it first. All right, you can't just take, like with this one here, where it doesn't have that label on there. You can't just take this directly and put it like directly on your skin. And the reason why is, like I had said before, you know, basically this is the essence, basically the pollen of the plant. All right. So if you have an allergy to it, and maybe you didn't know that you had an allergy to it, or maybe you don't have an allergy to it, but all of a sudden, you know, you put this on, and seeing how it's the pure essence of the plant, you could wind up with an allergy of it. And unfortunately, after that, you're not going to be able to use it for the rest of your life. Okay, that's the way it's been explained to me. So you have to dilute it. All right. Well, how do you dilute it? There's different ways that you can do it. Obviously, if you're like making your own, say, deodorants or soaps, shampoos, what have you, then it's already being diluted. You can add this directly to bath water. You know, so like if you want to take yourself a nice hot Epsom salt bath, you can add a few drops to your bath water. But if you're going to be using this topically, you know, for as an oil mixture, okay, you have to dilute it in what is called a base oil. And base oils are going to be the ones like sweet almond oil, jojoba oil, which is what this one has already been pre-mixed with. Okay, so you could see pure essential oil and jojoba oil. It's spelled Joba, but pronounced jojoba, basically Spanish. Okay, this is actually a plant that's found out here in the desert Southwest. It's my understanding where it originated anyway. It's my understanding. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what I've been told. But anyway, this one has already been pre-mixed in that's one that you can use. You can use olive oil, walnut oil, coconut oil. If you can find a coconut oil that's stays in the oil phase and not solidifying, which you usually find, great. Otherwise, you'll have to keep heating it up. Okay, but I just use I prefer to use, for most of my blends, I prefer to use sweet almond oil because it doesn't have an odor to it. About the only one that I use, I'll use not jojoba, but olive oil, is tea tree oil, because I find that's the combination of those. I use tea tree oil for like helping to prevent infections. You know, like if you get a scrape or something like that, it helps with preventing infections. You can use that. It's also good for like a toenail fungus. There's a lot of different things for it, but I find that the combination of tea tree oil with the olive oil works really, really well. That's just my experience, at least with my body. Experiment, see if it works for you or not. Okay, so anyway, yeah, like I said, if you using the pure essential oil without it being pre-mixed, you're going to have to use a base oil. And I for my, at the time when I had this book, when I discovered this book, you know, I was having a lot of issues with this in here. And I was like, gosh, you know, I just want some relief. And when I had read about that, I had already done a mixture, you know, from this book. And of course it has lavender in it. And I was just like, well, I already have that done. Let me just try it and see. I took some and I put it, started massaging it, you know, both sides of my head, because I was having both sides. And wow. Instant relief. It felt so good. I just kept doing it and doing it for like a few months or whatever, and now I hardly have any issues at all anymore. Every once in a while I'll get a little bit of flare up, but not too often. So with that recipe, if you want to see about using all three of the ingredients, it's a combination of rose, pine, and lavender. All right. I did not do I did not get any of the pine because unfortunately, with experimenting in the store, with just whiffing it across my nose, oh, it was really, really irritating. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to chance it. But if you want to use that recipe, basically my end recipe that I use as far as measurements are concerned, I use 5 tablespoons of almond oil, 5 drops, and that's the other thing too. This little thing that's up here on top of the bottle, that's your dropper. Don't take that off. Okay, all you have to do it upside down. You're good to go. Okay, and it'll drop out for you. All right, it's also another indicator of a more decent um, essential oil. Okay, so anyway, yeah, just 5 drops of lavender, 5 drops of rose, and 5 drops of the pine. And then you just take it, do it in one of these small mason jars, swirl it up, and you're good to go. And just take some out on your hands, rub it on, and then just massage it into the area. Wow, yeah. For this recipe that I did up yesterday, since I didn't do the pine, I wound up using about 10 drops of the lavender and about 15 drops of the rose. The reason why I use so much, usually you don't really need to use that much, okay? But since I didn't have the pine to help, of course, I'm using a little bit more of the other. I wouldn't recommend going over with pure essential oil, of course, depending on how much base oil you're using. You got to kind of do things in proportion so that way you're not getting too much of that pollen on your skin, basically, okay? The reason why I use so much of the rose is because it's pre-mixed. So I'm basically, adding pre-mixed essential oil into yet another base. So it's diluting it even more. All right. So that's why I use so much. So I would recommend, depending, and even like with the first recipe I gave you, maybe like somewhere between 3 to 5 drops. If 5 drops winds up being too much, then cut it back to like maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. Okay. But if you're using a lot, you can. I wouldn't recommend going any more than 10. Yeah, and even that might be pushing it a little bit, but try it on a little spot, or that may be not too sensitive or what have you, and go and see if you have any reactions to it or whatever. And that's the thing too. Another nice thing too that you can do, what I did last night, especially with dealing with the muscle issues, I took them with while I was working, and you could just take it and do it across your nose like that, and then that definitely helps to relax. You can also try eucalyptus. Rosemary is really good. Peppermint is also a really good one as well. Excuse me. When it comes to breathing issues. And they haven't been using the eucalyptus because it has been having a negative reaction for me. And I don't have any rosemary. But like the one lip balm that I use is peppermint, and I'll use that. Put that on my lips, and I have the mask on and breathe it in. Feels really great. Really, really great. So yeah, you can do that, but I noticed I put it on yesterday after getting a shower. Definitely, just massaged it all right in, and it felt really, really great. And then just before I went to the doctor's office, I put some on. I could definitely tell things are calming down in here between doing that and the acupressure mat and pillow. But yeah, the muscles, gosh, you can just feel how tense they are, how tight they are, and everything. So just figure if I can do that, a few times a day and so forth, help calm things down and so forth. So, and I don't remember if I mentioned in this video or not. I know I tried mentioning it in the other videos. I have been working with the mat to roll it up to try and target those areas. And I'm basically holding off to do that until my muscles have had opportunity to, after doing, the yoga stretches. And I definitely noticed that my form improved yesterday. And that's one of the reasons why my muscles got really tense. I felt it when they started tensing up, spasming up. So I'm waiting until the time to jump onto the acupressure mat and pillow. So in that way, I'm able to target more those areas and everything. So slowly but surely, we're getting there. We are getting someplace, okay? But we need to get to the root of the problem and everything, and see about getting some extra help and everything. Even if it winds up just being something that I just manage for the rest of my life. Okay, that's all I care about. Knowing, so I know how to proceed with things. That's been the big thing. So, anywho, yeah. I know it's been a bit of a long video today, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. So anyway, I will talk at you later. I love you guys, and I hope that your Mercury retrograde is going well. I love you all. I'll talk at you soon.